green, we still have to get them to increase their level of execution out there when it comes time to making plays at the point of attack. But we've been pleased with our progress, and they just have to understand it's a process to get you to game day on the 29th.
What do you need to see from the linebacker core? What are the keys for them to be productive?
Well, just some of the things that you want to look for when you go into year 3. Just for us within our position, we want to make sure we can be consistent in executing our jobs. That being, when you're at the point of attack, you got to be consistent making your plays, consistency when it comes to getting the defense aligned and adjusted. Next, we have to make sure that you can be the aggressor when the ball is snapped. We want to make sure we got guys that go hunt at the snap. I have a philosophy, I'd rather say woe than sick 'em when it comes to dealing with our linebackers getting to the point of attack. And then last but not least, just making sure that you should see some increased execution. There should be a raised level of execution because you know what to do going into year 3 of this system.
Are there any particular players that you really need to step up now? Now's their time.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, but we have a room where every Hoosier in has to be prepared. And that's my job, to make sure everyone's ready, because you never know when the person behind you, he has to come to the forefront to make a play. So when I'm in my meeting room, I'm trying to talk to every person exactly the same, making sure that they can do the greatest job they can when they get to the field.
Coach Wilson was talking the other day about the linebackers saying their eyes need to be where they need to be.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of reading. In terms of the young guys, are you seeing some progress in that
Yes,
regard?
yeah, we're seeing some progress. And the thing we're trying to tell them is you got to stay focused like a laser in the center of the bullseye, not just on the bullseye, when it comes to staying on your key. And they're showing some very good improvement, and we've been pleased with their performance. And I think you can see, if you're there today, that you can see some things that they're doing a lot better.
Are you getting, I guess, sort of just the leadership and maybe the representation from the seniors that you need at that position, juniors and seniors, the returning guys?
Yes, and probably the biggest challenge, some of them have been a little banged up and a little dinged up, but from a leadership standpoint, we've been very pleased with what they've all been doing.
Obviously, you know, losing Hubler for an extended period of time, I mean, who are some of the guys that maybe you're looking to fill that hole?
Well, losing Chase, the next person for us from a leadership standpoint is going to be David Cooper. He's someone that we know has led the team. He's got what you call sweat equity in the program, and he's done pretty good from a building leadership, building trust within the group. So he's probably the number one guy that we're going to rely on from a leadership standpoint. That's an upperclassman.
Was there something from your background, not just from Buffalo, but otherwise, that you've tried to bring to the linebackers that maybe they weren't exposed to before? Something in your philosophy or something?
Yeah, well, probably everywhere that I've had the opportunity to be, we've been able to play at a high level and see what success looks like. And at all the places where we were successful, our linebackers were in the middle of all the action. And if you look at all the great teams defensively, I guarantee you're going to find some linebackers that are playing pretty good and pretty consistent. So being able to show them pictures of that and talking with them about that daily, and trying to build leadership within every person, we think that we're going to get us to where we need to be, and it's just a process, and they got to understand that.
Where have you seen differences just between the spring and now? Basically, where have you seen guys get better, and what's better?
It's funny. Probably the biggest difference from the spring and now is having the 3 young players that weren't here, having them here now, and seeing those young men play. The challenge from the spring was Curtis Cooper and Hubler were out for a majority of the spring. But seeing them, or more Cooper when he came back, you can see that there's a raised level of play from his standpoint. And we've been pleased because I think we're a more bigger and a more physical team. Coach Hill and the staff in the weight room have done a great job of building them up for the summer.
What impresses you about those true freshmen? What impresses you about those true freshmen? And it's early, obviously, but what do you like from those guys? And, you know, are they players that you can see playing right away?
They're high contact players. You don't have to say sick 'em to them. And if they may be going in the wrong direction sometimes, but they're going to be going there 100 miles an hour. And we can get them to where they need to be, and that's my job. And that's exactly what Coach tells us we got to do, get them to where they need to go, because they're going to get there and do a great job. And we've seen that they can show flashes of excellence when it comes to being able to make plays at the point of attack.
Have you seen some of the returnees like Flo Harden or Jakari Alexander, who maybe need to get a little bit bigger and stronger? What have you seen from them from like the spring to now?
Well, you know, every one of them has something good that they bring to the table. See, Flo, he's been pretty good out in space, so we've been trying to get him closer to the core, seeing how physical he can be, and I've been very happy with his progress thus far. Jakari is in the same sense, making sure that he can be someone, when he's at the point of attack, he's going to be a beast. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing him show signs of being able to do that, because the guys know in our room there is a raised level of expectation when it comes to how we have to play championship-winning football here in the Big Ten.
Coach,
In terms of, I guess, both absorption and retention, sort of, whereas T.J. Simmons, obviously, because he had the spring where the other three guys didn't.
And that's what's unique, because I challenged the other three players and told them at this practice, when it may have been practice 4 or 5, TJ is a little further ahead of you than where you were at that point in time. Well, to see what those guys have done in the last 2 practices, I'm extremely impressed, because they got themselves caught back up to where they need to be. And we feel as though we're all making progress. TJ's going to have a little more understanding and knowledge of the system just because he has 15 more practices than them. But they're all getting to where they need to be the next Hoosier in.
Coaches Wilson and Mallory both said they think this linebacking core can, go 3 deep on the field a few more times because there's better guys that can play in space, basically, and they can go maybe against a spread offense and see maybe more receivers to be able to hang. Do you see that too? Do you feel like this is a good core of guys that can play in space and can, cover and drop back if need be and cover maybe a wide receiver or tight ends or stuff like that, so you don't have to go to nickel all the time?
And philosophically, that's what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to play with the same players on the field. So we can be able to call some indecision, create uncertainty on the part of the offense, to where when they see you sub, they know that you're going to go to your rabbit package, if that's what most people would want to call it. So they may have things that they want to do to attack it. But if you can stay in the same personnel as often as can be, now you can see some different things start to unfold. Knowing in different scenarios you may have to sub, but for the most part we would be comfortable trying to have our players play, because they're going to do the jobs all the time and do them often.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, man.